Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim and Chris. On today's Australian Open Round 4 catch-up, sponsored by DownloadTennis.com.
Swiatek, Goff and Garcia crash out.
Rublev outlasts Rune.
And Novak Djokovic marches on.
Kim, Chris, today is the 23rd of January and we are here to catch up on round 4 of the Australian Open at Tennis Weekly HQ. We have had some big shocks on the ladies' side. Iga Swiatek, the top seed, Coco Gauff and Caroline Garcia have all crashed out. The prophecy is not coming true for now. We had a fantastic match as well with Rublev coming through match points down against Holger Rune, and Novak Djokovic, magically his leg looks a lot better in a destructive performance of Alex de Minaur in 3 sets. So as always, lots and lots to get our teeth into. But I've got to confess, first of all, Kim, in our last episode, I thought you were in Bruges, and I told our listeners you were there, when the reality was you were somewhere else in the UK.
I know, I feel quite deceptive, but I was just doing some latergrams on Insta and you assumed cheated. I was away.
Our listeners, I'm sure, feel cheated as well. What a scam.
Oh,
no chocolate for us, Kim.
No chocolate,
Nothing.
I'm afraid. I mean, I can get you some English chocolate, but not like they have in Bruges. But next time, I will, when I'm genuinely on holiday, I will get you both something to make up for it.
Is this what you do? You just want to give this sort of portrayal that, you know, you're somewhere like nice and exotic in the world when, like, the reality is it's, you know, in like Croydon shopping centre or something.
Yeah, that's it. I was actually in Croydon Shopping Centre, which is why
the whole weekend.
I couldn't podcast on Sunday.
What better places to be, right?
Well, I bet Croydon shopping centres are loving this episode if they're listening. Everyone, visit Croydon. Yeah, no, I was occupied. I wasn't in Croydon. I was around the London region, doing some nice things. So I wasn't able to join you, but hopefully everyone's pleased to hear I'm back, even though I didn't go to Belgium for the weekend. But I mean, this isn't a podcast about my trips or not trips, as much as we might like to talk about them. Let's talk about the 4th round at the Australian Open, because and I actually feel like I could do some Belgian shocks to make up for the fact that Caroline Garcia is out.
Sad times.
Yeah, the prophecy is
sad
no
times
more.
for you. Sad times for you, I would say. I'm all aboard the Magda Linette, or should I say the Magda Goatnet train, all the way through to the quarterfinals.
Well, you did call this, Joel, because you WhatsApped us the night before saying, are we all going to wake up to a goat net victory? And that is exactly what we did. 7-6, 6-4. It was straight sets to Magda Linette. She's never been into the 4th round of a Grand Slam before, so she's into new territory. But to the quarterfinal, I should say. So I'm getting lost in my rounds because I missed the last catch-up. But she's made her way through by beating, obviously, Garcia, the 4th seed. She also has beaten the 16th and the 19th seed. So she is well on her way through. And, you know, she was down in that first set, a double break, you know, and she sort of managed to turn it around, get that tiebreak, 6-4, serving really, really well. And she just, fantastic for her, you know, going into this stage for the first time. But Chris, I kind of feel like Joel doesn't really care about Garcia, but I feel like you're more sympathetic to her. Where did Caroline go wrong in this match, and what was it that Linette was doing so well to get this victory?
I am definitely on the Garcia train of the two. I think we want to see her, as we say, fulfill the prophecy. We want to see her do well, but it's one of those matches where if Garcia's serve doesn't get going, it does get an awful lot more difficult for her. And she only made 49% of first serves in this one. And she only won 39% of points behind her second serve. So the numbers were not great. And when it came to the unforced error winner count, she had 6 more unforced errors, whereas Linette actually had 11 more winners than unforced errors. So it just feels like Garcia was a bit off and Linette was playing very, very tidy tennis. So a shame for Garcia, but we want to see people win matches, not lose matches. And it felt like Linette was able to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great for her. She does have a couple of top 10 victories in her career. This is her fourth, I think. And actually 3 of them have been against top 5 opponents.
It's great for Poland as well, isn't it? Because Iga Swiatek and Hubert Hurkacz, probably the two, you'd probably say the two leading lights in Polish tennis at the moment in the singles, have both gone out. But who would have thought that Magda Linette would be the last person standing in Melbourne?
But you're saying singles. You did think that, Joel. You're trying to claim full credit for this, I believe.
I know.
That she is actually the unsung hero of Polish tennis.
Well, who needs Iga Swiatek when you've now got Magda Linette, hey?
Well, exactly. Well, I know. And also, I was reading, I don't know if you guys saw this, but she has put up for auction a dinner with her as part of a Polish kind of charity benefits dinner, which I think is going on in like a few weeks' time. And I had to go on to see the bid, to see where it was at based on her quarterfinal run and whether it had gone into kind of her price had skyrocketed. So any guesses, do you think, for, I think it was a dinner, a meal, a sit down chat with Magda Linette, probably over a three-course meal. 3 courses, okay, right. I'm going to go...
Not like the Ritz or Nobu, but like sort of a local...
Maybe like a Polish... Yeah, it could... I mean, it could...
Like Polish Pizza Express sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Do I'm going to go... Pizza Express in Poland, I wonder?
I don't know. We need to find the terms and conditions out, but irrespective of the cost of food, plus or minus about £100, I'll say 7,200.
What, pounds? Wow. Is this a bit like the Jeannie Bouchard offering a date thing? I think that
was for free, no, wasn't it?
Was it for free?
The tickets.
Oh, gosh.
The tickets. No, that came out wrong.
I'm sure she went on a date with someone off Twitter. 5,000 zloty. I don't know what the exchange rate is.
Kim, you're not right, but Chris actually is very, very close. It's at the moment at around, I think, £7,700, which is, I think, 41,000 zloty or thereabouts. So, I wonder how high it will go.
Sky's the limit if she's able to make it to the final. Maybe this could be our new crowdfunding idea, a dinner with Joel we could auction off.
But no, in all seriousness, I do love these stories of players who have been around the tour for so long. I mean, this was her 30th Grand Slam main draw appearance. It reminded me of Pavlyuchenkova at the French Open, when she's a player who has been around for so long. And then she got to the French Open final, and it was almost kind of like a cherry on top of the career. And it was great, I think, to see Linette kind of go on and make the most of these opportunities.
And she's got a great draw, doesn't she? I was looking at this. She's got Pliskova, who's a bit of a surprise at this stage of a slam at the moment, but she actually played her, and we saw some of that at the Billie Jean King Cup. In case our viewers don't know, we did go. We do mention it every episode.
Did we go? Where was it? Oh, yeah, it was in Glasgow. Yes.
Yes, we did go, and maybe the only people who've been to every Billie Jean King Cup except for Billie Jean King herself. But we did see her play against Pliskova, and she made short work of her. She beat her 6-1, 6-4. So if you're looking at this draw and you're Pliskova, Magda Linette is not someone you want to see who's going to be swinging freely and has just beaten you at the end of last year. So we wish them both luck, but I think that
Chris,
I
will say though, I feel like a quarterfinal of the first Grand Slam of the year is a little bit different to the court we saw them play on, which was like a repurposed velodrome in Glasgow.
She can win anywhere, clearly.
Yeah, I know. It was like a tennis court inside
on the velodrome, on the tennis court,
track.
on the running track.
They did play at the US Open, and it went down to the wire, last set tiebreak. So it could be we could be in for a cracker if it's like that. But yeah, Pliskova, she's not in the top 10 as she has been. She's down at 30 in her seeding at the moment. So, but she's been coming through fairly nicely. Straight sets over Zhang Shui, 6-love, 6-4, under an hour. Very impressive on serve, which when we know her serve works well, she is very hard to beat. So she is obviously more experienced at Grand Slam. So I'm still going to give Pliskova the edge, I think, in this matchup.
Are you surprised more by Pliskova's progress to the quarterfinals or Linette's? Because this, as caught me quite off guard how easily Pliskova seems to be coming through the draw. I mean, I think she's been helped arguably by some of the quality of the opposition she has faced, but I wasn't 30th seed. Don't think I was expecting her to get through to the quarterfinals.
I think Linette is definitely the surprise for me. Pliskova has got to slam finals, so I don't think, she's always one of those players that could just go deep. She's quite capable, especially if the draw opens up, which it has done. So I think personally, she's looking quite strong for the semis. I think maybe it might be a step too far for Linette, but we'll have to wait and see. She's been seed killing so far this tournament, so I wouldn't put it past her. Let's talk about the other section of the women's from today, because we saw a really interesting match between Aryna Sabalenka and Belinda Bencic, who were both coming into this on 7-match winning streaks. They both won titles on the tour, prior to the AO. And it was kind of really interesting to see who would come out on top, because potentially the winner of this match, could well go all the way. They're quite one of the favourites given their recent form. Chris, this resulted in a straight sets victory for Aryna Sabalenka, 7-5, 6-2. Were you surprised by this result? What did you make of both of their performances in this one?
I was kind of bookmarked this as the fourth round match that I was probably most interested in, because I think coming into this, as you say, they're both on match winning streaks, and Sabalenka seems to have done some wonders to her serve, because she managed to serve some of the best numbers that I've seen her, for a long time, and such a change from what's been going on with her previously. In fact, she served 4 less double faults than Bencic did. So I think that potentially Bencic should book an appointment with the biomechanics help that Sabalenka's had, because she's completely changed her swing. She's been watching so many videos as to how she'd be able to adapt her swing, and she doesn't seem to have lost any pace, any accuracy. She's completely changed her second serve, and if you can hit the ball off the ground like she can, which has never been a problem, I think she has to be the favourite for this one, because an informed Bencic in straight sets like that, having come back from a breakdown, over 30 winners, she's a very, very intimidating prospect at this stage of a slam.
Yeah, she's playing with a lot of confidence as well. I think a few years ago, she was almost like, she was one of the top seeds, but did we really expect her? Did she really believe, I feel, that she was a Grand Slam contender? But I think seeing her play this week, particularly this match against Bencic, for me, what struck me was the confidence, and I think the belief that she's playing with at the moment. And yes, she might be seeing all these seeds fall around her, like Swiatek, Coco Gauff, and she's, I think, just lapping it up and being like, right, this is my moment. And I think she really, really believes it could well be, her time to break her duck as a Grand Slam champion.
She seems super focused, doesn't she? I think that's such a good point, Joel, because
she's a woman on a mission.
She is, and she's been at this stage before, but I don't always think that she's thought she's going to win it. Especially at the US Open last year, it was almost kind of a turnaround story after a very sort of up and down year.
And I do wonder if also, because Dmitry Tursunov, Sabalenka's coach, is now Belinda Bencic's coach. And I thought that was going to give the edge to Bencic, but I feel like it might have also fueled Sabalenka to be like, right, I'm gonna show you.
Well, I think it might have done. I mean, he seems to have gone around the houses quite a bit, doesn't he, with various players that he's been coaching. So he's obviously doing fairly well with Bencic so far, given her start to the season. But yeah, I think maybe Sabalenka did have that extra urge in her to overcome Bencic on this one. But she's got, I would say, a decent draw as well, because she will be playing Donna Vekic in the quarterfinals, who came up against Linda, one of the Lindas, Linda Fruhvirtova, who was herself bidding to become the youngest Australian Open quarterfinalist in 25 years at the age of 17. Almost 18, but very, very young still. And this was a 3-set affair. It was 6-2, 1-6, 6-3 to Vekic. So Linda is out, but Donna Vekic is through to her first quarterfinal of a Grand Slam since the 2019 US Open. And I didn't realise this, but now Donna Vekic is also on a 7-match win streak. She was undefeated at the United Cup. So is this someone that's gone way under the radar, who going into the AO, we totally ignored the fact that she did quite well at the United Cup, and maybe we just kind of overlooked her in the draw, because we do know she's been in the top 20, she's capable of getting these big wins, and she's back in the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam. Do we think she's got any chance against Sabalenka? Do you think she can carry on going further? Joel, what's your opinion? Are you sad, first of all, that Linda's out? I know you're a big fan of one of the Lindas.
Which Linda is he a fan of?
Yeah,
we don't know.
Both of them.
He doesn't know either.
No, I don't. To be fair, no, I'm really happy for Donna Vekic, because she's had a very tough, I think, couple of years with injuries, and she was such a bright prospect, I think, when she was coming up, through her career, and times, they got tough for her, and these sorts of results just weren't happening for her, and it's great to see her back, I think, realizing that potential, and it's great also to read about, she's teamed up, I think, with Pam Shriver, who I think has certainly, as a very accomplished doubles player, has helped her progress her serve and volley, movement to the net, which again I've been watching in some of the highlights of her, her videos on YouTube this week. So yeah, it's great to see. Yeah, a little bit unfortunate for Fruhvirtova, but I can't help but feel happy for Vekic, given the injuries and the layoffs that she's been through over the last few years.
Yeah, Chris, do you think this is just sort of, obviously it's nice that Donna Vekic has got through to the quarterfinals? So this is Sabalenka's to lose, given her draw now in this side of the. I mean, and even Sabalenka, if it was the Sabalenka Pliskova, semi, do you think Sabalenka out of this half is now definitely the one to beat?
I think she is. I think the difficulty with Sabalenka is she also moves well, but you've got to beat her in this sort of form. You've got to take the game away from her. So it would take more of a Pliskova kind of going into serve bot mode, and then really going for that third shot or after the return of the serve. But I can't really see past Sabalenka in this section. But Vekic can handle the pace. She's great at redirecting the ball, but I think that she will kind of come up a bit short in this one, because if you look at the people she's played in this tournament, it's a great result, but it's a big step up, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the men's results from today. We did have a real thriller out on court between Andrei Rublev and Holger Rune. This went down to the wire, a final set tiebreak. Rublev saved match points. He was 5-love down in that final set tiebreak, saving 2 match points, coming through. What an absolutely cracking roller coaster of a match. Andrei Rublev managing to get the win
on a dead net cord as well.
Yeah, what a way to end such a long match.
He celebrated it. I couldn't believe it. He dropped the.
It was a bit odd. Again, it was that sort of Andy Murray Berrettini situation of I want to celebrate because another quarterfinal.
Two of those in the space of a week, really. But yeah, where was your thoughts out on this one? I was so kind of sure that Rune was the one to kind of come through this. I had him I think I put him in my quarterfinal predictions when we made them before the tournament. And I really do feel like he probably should have got the job done at this, serving for it, being up in that last set tiebreak, having the match points. But Rublev, very experienced, very consistent, just kept his nerve, got it done. Bit of luck at the end, of course. Joel, where are you at on this one? Do you think Rune's going to be ruining this defeat? There's a lot of ruse going on here.
Yeah, I think it was a very, very tight match. I think the fact that it ended on a net cord just shows how little there was between them. And, I think on another day, it could have very easily been a Holger Rune victory. I do wonder if maybe Grand Slam experience counted against Rune and actually counted for Rublev. I loved his honesty in his post-match interview when, Rublev was just very candid about how, he wasn't in a good place. He thought he was going to lose it, but he just told himself to kind of keep fighting and play a better tiebreak than he did, I think, against, I think he referenced Cilic in Roland Garros last year. So I just think Rublev maybe arguably wanted it a little bit more. And we know he's still got that issue, I think, when it comes to quarterfinals. I think this is his 7th quarterfinal now, and he's sort of yet to make that breakthrough. But he's very, very consistent at getting there. I think this is his 3rd Grand Slam quarterfinal in a row, taking out Wimbledon, on which obviously he wasn't able to be present at. But I think Rune has had a very good tournament, but I just think it was like maybe Rublev wanted it a little bit more and was able to overcome that adversity when it was thrown at him.
I mean, unfortunately for Rublev, he does have Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinal. So, I mean, I don't want to say it's a pointless match, but given the way that Djokovic played today, I don't think Rublev's got any chance of winning. I'm sorry to appear negative, but I really, Novak Djokovic cast aside Alex de Minaur 6-2, 6-1, 6-2. The leg looked fine. He was moving freely. He sort of seems to have, again, miraculously recovered from any sort of ailment and was just imperious, just absolutely on top of things. I've got no doubt that he will win the title after what he did today.
Kim, I swear the practice match between Nick Kyrgios and Novak Djokovic was more competitive, I feel, than this match against Alex de Minaur.
Alex de Minaur.
I know that's really scathing.
Joel, that is savage. It ended with the ball kid playing
Nick
the points.
Kyrgios.
Yeah, that really, I'm not sure is completely fair. But
apologies, ADM.
But I mean, it's I don't want to roll my eyes at this, but I think we all
you're going to.
were kind of. I'm rolling my eyes right now because we all watched him play that last one. I genuinely thought that he might have retired if he'd lost that first set against Grigor Dimitrov. The way that he was sort of walking about, the way that he was kind of gesturing to it, almost limping at times, and suddenly it's healed overnight. And maybe it's the gluten-free diet, I'm not sure, but it seems to just suddenly have become injury-free. And I think for me, the only frustration I have with it is that you kind of give the benefit of the doubt, obviously, because why would you, if it wasn't a problem, he wouldn't be kind of having it strapped, he wouldn't be talking about it. But then this one, he's kind of talking about it as though it's not an issue at all. He didn't think past this. He didn't know until after he found Alex de Minaur, kind of no challenge at all, that he'd be in such a good condition for this match. So,
is there an argument, though, to say, and again, I'm being totally savage to Alex de Minaur, that he just wasn't able to be at a level that brought that injury out of Novak Djokovic, like Grigor Dimitrov, was able to do in the previous round?
That is definitely potentially a reason for this. But having seen de Minaur play, I saw him play in Stockholm. He has got more on his shots than you think. But I if you're putting them up against each other, I mean, this match was never going to go, if Djokovic was fit, more than 3 sets.
Is Alex de Minaur just becoming a bit of a journeyman? I know he's still quite young, but I don't think he's got the weapons.
We are being all very savage, aren't we, towards Alex de Minaur?
Is he a better version of John Millman? But not. He's not going to reach the highest heights. I think we're just slagging him off now, potentially. I don't
know. I think he's. I mean, he's reached number 15 in the world. He's coming up to his 24th birthday.
I'm definitely being a bit harsh then.
No, but I think it's the sort of people that will break through and get the results. They have to have sort of these big weapons. Like we see people like Tsitsipas, who has the weapons but hasn't been able to convert. I mean, someone who Tsitsipas doesn't think has big weapons, no tools at all. Rublev, we think he has a big forehand, but he isn't able to put it together. So if you don't have those weapons, you don't have those things you can rely on in those moments. And it sounds like he was a bit of a ball machine for Djokovic, but doesn't mean he won't be able to get up to number 50 in the world again. But I don't think he'll be lifting silverware. Yeah, great practice match.
Well, another player we spoke about who we say, is a player who people look at and doesn't think has weapons, but has had a very good career, is someone like a Roberto Bautista Agut. And I think consistency can get you to around about kind of top 10, and maybe that's what Alex de Minaur could potentially get to. But yeah, at the moment, it just feels like without those weapons, he's not really troubling the top players. And, movement is one thing, but there needs to be more to it than that. And it doesn't really feel like he has that X factor at the moment.
I mean, talking of Roberto Bautista Agut, he hasn't made it into the quarters, Joel, like you predicted.
That is true.
He came close.
Thank
but
goodness.
Tommy Paul got the best of him in 4 sets.
You called that, didn't you, Chris?
I don't know if I did. I think I might have gone the other way, but I will say that I did call that. But I think I said something about consistency. I think I said that Tommy Paul is someone who isn't the most consistent on the tour, playing against someone who is one of the most consistent people on the tour. So I do think that Tommy Paul's level of tennis is higher. And if he could put it together, I thought he would come through. But if it comes to 5 sets, I probably think I said Bautista Agut there. But I mean, the Americans, they're having quite the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, Tommy Paul.
3 through?
He'll be playing Ben Shelton in his quarterfinal. The maiden Grand Slam quarterfinal for both of them. Shelton knocking out another American, JJ Wolf, in 5
Americans
sets.
everywhere.
Yeah. And Ben Shelton, he's only on his 2nd Grand Slam appearance. So, he's absolutely fantastic. So many Americans, it seems. I think we've got 3 American quarterfinalists at a Grand Slam. It's the first time since, on the men's side anyway, since the 2005 US Open. And in Australia, the first time in 23 years.
I'm just looking at that list. Agassi, Blake, Robbie Ginepri. That is a blast from the past.
What a name. Which begs the question, who is the American number one? We talk about the French number one, but I think I've lost track of who the American number one is. Is it still Taylor Fritz, surely? I guess.
Yes, it is. Fritz, TFO, might not be, depending on how Korda performs.
Well, yeah, we'll get on to him.
Or Tommy Paul, I should say. But I'm not sure if he can go above Fritz with those Indian Wells points. But now there's 10 Americans in the top 50. Which that seems like it's almost like the Russian women from a few years ago when they were really dominating the top of the sport. But it does feel like they're all kind of spurring each other on. They're all sort of in that age bracket from 20 to 25. And hopefully there'll be a lot more competition between them to try and be the American number one. That would be great to see.
I don't think it's like, France in 2009, like a decade ago, where it was like they had a lot of players in the top 100, but they didn't really have like a superstar. I'm looking at this list of 10 American men: Fritz, Tiafoe, Korda, Paul, Brooksby, Jos Isner, Shelton, Wolf, Pelka, Nakashima. How young they are, I think, is what's very promising there, because you've got a lot of stars who I think are yet to reach their potential, and it's going to be really fascinating to see how they go. And I think obviously Ben Shelton is the one, on most people's lips at the moment in terms of the biggest prospect, maybe him alongside Jenson Brooksby. But there's so much to like, I feel like, about Ben Shelton when he walks out onto a tennis court, because he just seems to take everything, I feel, in his stride.
I have to issue an apology. I was going to say, we did say for a while that Casper Ruud had been Ben Sheltoned, and now after this performance, it looks like that's not such a bad result in Cincinnati, losing the first round. It happens a lot, doesn't it, that you see an upset, and then suddenly you fast forward and they're sort of a tour leader. Like, when you see Rybakina take out Serena at Roland Garros, and then she wins a Grand Slam, and you see these people who put together these results, and then suddenly they're right at the top of the game. So that is an apology to both Ben Shelton and Casper Ruud, and we'll stop using his name as "you've been Ben Sheltoned." I think it's time to retire that one.
He's no longer a verb. And on that note, let's have a quick break. We'll be back in the second half, where I'll be looking at all of the action from day 7 of the Australian Open. So do not go anywhere. Welcome back to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim and Chris, sponsored by downloadtennis.com. And let's look back at day 7, which did see, potentially a big shock. I'm not sure how much of a shock it was for some people, but we had the battle of the last kind of 2 Grand Slam champions, Iga Swiatek and Elene Rybakina. They were facing off against each other in the 4th round. And the end result was that Swiatek was ousted from the tournament in straight set 6-4, 6-4 by Rybakina. Rybakina into her first Australian Open quarterfinal. Chris, I know before the AO began, we were kind of all actually saying we didn't really predict Swiatek to perhaps win this tournament. She was feeling a bit more fragile coming in. She'd lost to Jessie Pegula, tears afterwards, in the run-up. What did you make of this match between the two of them? Out on Rod Laver? Did you Did you see this coming? Did you think it would be Rybakina to upset Swiatek, or where were you thinking whilst you were watching this one?
Well, I wasn't surprised. I think that we had seen that Iga hadn't necessarily been as confident as she had been previously, and she had those wobbles. She actually lost to Rybakina in the sort of the off-season 6-3, 6-1, and that was probably kind of in the back of her mind a little bit, that she really had to bring her A game. Is it surprising? I don't think many people would have been that surprised by this result. I mean, it is the Wimbledon champion. On paper, obviously, the rankings do look a bit different, but this is a player who has beaten top players. She has won a slam. She's handled pressure really well previously, who's really hungry for it, I think. And it's one of those results where I'm not necessarily disheartened by this, because as good as Iga is for the sport, what's better is other great players also playing well and making it really interesting. And for Rybakina, if for her to put together a result like this and maybe go even further, it's only good for the sport. And I think it does actually really help, because the whole Wimbledon situation is relatively unfortunate when it comes to Elena's situation.
No ranking points.
Yeah, exactly. And if she were to win this, she'd be in the top 10, and that's without the Wimbledon Championship counting. So it's definitely making her impossible to ignore, I think, and she has been kind of overlooked at times. So I'm very pleased for her.
Yeah, and a few years ago, coming into the AO, Rybakina was in great form. She got to, I think, a couple of finals, just lost to Ash Barty in those and at the AO. So she started off the season, on a bit of a rampage a couple of years back. And I think, her form out on these courts, she's obviously capable of putting it all together. And she was just the more solid, wasn't she, against Swiatek?
Oh, she climbed over Swiatek's serve, I feel. It just sort of sat up for her right into the strike zone, I think, of Rybakina. And it really, I think, helped her cause issues, I think, on the Swiatek service games. I didn't feel like there were many comfortable holds. And it was very impressive from the Wimbledon champion.
Yeah, Swiatek was, I think, or certainly a breakup in the second set, I think 3-love even, but Rybakina clawed her way back and obviously got it done in straight sets. And she's, like we saw that in the Wimbledon final, like she's there for the big matches, keeps her nerve, gets her serve, cracking. So, yeah, I'm really pleased for her, because I do think she was hard done by with the lack of the ranking points as a result of the Wimbledon title. So I'm really pleased to see her kind of making it through to this stage of a Grand Slam again. And she's up against another player who is also a Grand Slam champion and is also into her first AO quarterfinalist, and that's Jelena Ostapenko, who beat Coco Gauff, who we were all perhaps expecting to go a bit further. This was another straight sets win. Joel, Jelena Ostapenko, perhaps someone we can never really, write off in a draw. Very dangerous on her day. What have you made of her progress through the draw?
Yeah, it's she's a player who is very, very capable. We've seen that, given that she's a former Grand Slam champion. But again, at the same time, it did take me by surprise in the sense of this was her first win over a top 10 player at a Grand Slam in 3 years. But to be honest, when I looked at I watched the match and I looked back over the highlights, again, I just felt with Coco Gauff, she got her tactics wrong in the sense of the ball just was sort of sitting up. There was a bit, maybe too much topspin on, I think, for example, her forehand from the baseline. And if you give Ostapenko a ball to be hit, she will hit straight through it and move you all about the court. And I just think Gauff tried to out-hit her from the baseline and it wasn't really working. And I think you have to have more variety when you play against someone like Ostapenko. Try and keep the balls low, mix up the speeds, really kind of upset her rhythm.
Move her about.
Yeah, exactly. But I just felt like with Gauff, she just sort of played to Ostapenko's strengths. And even though I think, at times she can be erratic, when you give her a chance, she can just run with it. And that's exactly what happened, I felt, in this match.
She had a different look about her. She said in the off-season she'd worked on her consistency. And I feel like in this one, she's had a bit more kind of at difficult times. Her second serve held up. she found a way to get through it. She didn't get a kind of a head down about any of the shots she was missing. And as you say, we talked about it in the Raducanu match, that forehand is going to be an issue. Because if you look at this on paper, someone who moves as well as Coco Gauff should be a nightmare for an Ostapenko because of how many balls she's going to have to hit. And she's not someone who's known for hitting with margin. So that would be the sort of match you'd see and think that's going to be an unforced error count that will be well into the double digits per set. So I was really surprised by this result because I thought Coco would kind of outmaneuver her around the court potentially. But I do think it's great to see Ostapenko kind of back in a quarterfinal.
I do think she's intimidating when she steps on the court. She's that, like, I get the sort of sense with Holger Rune as well. A little bit arrogant and it's like, I'm there. You might not like it.
It's on their racket.
Yeah.
It's on their racket, isn't it? And they really do believe that. Joel, I want to just give you a bit of credit here. You did actually predict Ostapenko for the quarterfinal.
Oh, Joel,
I completely forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah.
Should be
you
owning
did.
that. I mean, Ostapenko is 2-love in her career against Rybakina. She's beaten both times they've played, including, I think, last year in Eastbourne. But although obviously Rybakina
I was there for that one.
Were you?
Yeah,
Well, there
I was
you go.
there. Yeah, that was very easy. I didn't really understand where Rybakina's serve was. That was really confusing to me.
She found it for Wimbledon at the very least.
She did indeed. Yes.
I mean, let's look at the other side of the women's on this section because we have Jessie Pegula, who me and Joel, we've both predicted her to win the title. She's still going strong. She won in straight sets against Barbora Krejcikova. As the third seed, many people will be looking to Pegula to now win. Is she the new favourite? Will this get to her? Because, so far she seems to have been handling her sort of top, being one of the top seeds quite nicely, coming through very easily. But Chris, do you think maybe she's now going to feel like a bit of extra emphasis, more eyes on her as we're getting into this stage of the tournament, given her kind of good form and where she's at with her game?
Yeah, I think she's almost impossible to ignore at this stage when it comes to, we've seen people who put together results and kind of bubble under the surface. We obviously said that about Rybakina just now in terms of the fact that she was kind of going under the radar at this tournament. And Pegula had quite a bit of buzz about her at the start of this tournament. This was the one where people thought if she was going to push on, it would be here. She's had some great results previously. It seems like she's handling the pressure really well. She says that it feels different this time. Previously, when she first reached the quarterfinal, that was a bit of a surprise, and then she backed it up last year. So she's obviously very comfortable playing down under. The courts suit her game. And I think the fact that she doesn't necessarily have these expectations of herself, she's letting her game do the talking. So for me, I think she is probably the favourite to make the final with the consistency that she has. And I just think that she will pretty easily dismantle Azarenka.
You think easily?
Two-time former champion, Chris. Victoria Azarenka. Also,
I honestly think that every time I get excited about an Azarenka performance, something happens that makes me think that she won't get kind of back up there. But I mean, Azarenka did play. She's problem solved well to get through. But Pegula is the problem that I don't think she'll have the answer to.
Yeah, because Azarenka came through against Zhu Lin, quite a long, lengthy encounter. I think it finished past 2 a.m. in the morning, 3-setter. So I know Azarenka praised her opponent very highly after the match. And she'd never played her before, so she said she didn't really know much about her, but she just kind of, like you said, problem solved to get it done. I'm sure she'll know a lot more about Jessie Pegula. But yeah, perhaps Pegula's consistency up against Azarenka, who we know can be quite wayward and erratic at times. It depends what Azarenka's going to turn up, I think. I think if Azarenka's on peak form, she might just be too much. But I think often consistency does win out. So that'll be, I think that's going to be a really exciting match to see. Quite intrigued by that one. Let's just touch upon the men's action from day 7. Cast our minds back. The match, I guess, on the men's side was, another 5-set thriller. Stefanos Tsitsipas against Jannik Sinner. I think when I saw this in the draw, I thought, Jannik Sinner always seems to get kind of caught up in these 5-set matches in Grand Slams.
That ultimately end in defeat.
Which he did, which he ultimately loses, like that Novak Djokovic run at Wimbledon, and also against Alcaraz at the US Open. But, both times, those two individuals have gone on to win the tournament. So, Sinner lost to Tsitsipas in 5 sets here on, Sunday. But does this mean Tsitsipas is potentially going on to win the tournament? Is Sinner the one that always loses out? Joel, what did you make of Sinner yet again at this stage? 5-set thrillers. What did you make of his match? What did you make of Tsitsipas, doing what he does out in Melbourne, trying to get through to what I think a third semi-final in 4 years, I think it is, for Tsitsipas potentially?
Yeah, Tsitsipas played very, very well for the first 2 sets. I thought it was just going to be another, straight sets walk. And I think it's testament to how much Jannik Sinner kind of fought back, that he was able to take it to a 5th. And, there were points where I did wonder whether he was going to go back to back, 2 sets down, winning 3 sets to 2, because he did it in the previous round as well. But yes, I think all credit to Tsitsipas. He didn't panic in that 5th set. And I think, he's had, both players I feel have had all these sorts of moments build up across all of their playing at Grand Slams over the years. And, they're both kind of experienced competitors now. But for me, I guess it's still frustrating that Jannik Sinner, a little bit, I think, like Andrei Rublev, is in that sort of nearly moment. He's still waiting to break free, and he becomes painfully close so many times. And maybe it's unfortunate that his seeding means that he faces these players around earlier on, because he certainly got the game that is just so close, I think, to making that breakthrough. But it's just not coming yet. But I have no doubt that it is around the corner.
Yeah, I do feel like we're somewhat of a broken record a bit with the Jannik Sinners and the Andrei Rublevs. We sort of seem to have this conversation a lot in our slam catch-ups, but I do hope that he will finally get that breakthrough and actually win one of these matches and potentially go all the way.
He played so well in sets 3 and sets 4. It's just the momentum that I think Tsitsipas was able to kind of stop in the 5th set was what was impressive, because it's not easy. He does have the crowd with him, all the Greeks in the crowd, which I think really help him. And I still think he's looking like a very good prospect to get to the semi-finals or better.
Yeah, because he's got Jiri Lehecka next, who beat Felix Auger-Aliassime in 4 sets. And, Lehecka also knocked out Cameron Norrie. And to be fair, it makes Norrie not seem quite so bad, that defeat, really, now that Lehecka's gone on to beat FAA. He's down at 71 in the world, but, he's only 21 years of age. He's putting together this run at the Slam. And I definitely think Tsitsipas is winning this, but I think Lehecka making, his first Slam quarterfinal, he's certainly come onto my radar. I hadn't really, I've never really watched him play much before this fortnight. So, Chris, do you have any words to add on Jiri Lehecka? Do you see him making any kind of inroads into the Tsitsipas game, given how well Tsitsipas is playing generally so far this week?
I think it's always tricky to play against someone who is the underdog. And he's put together some great results and played tennis like we sort of not seen before, and from him especially. So I guess with me it will depend on the start that he gets. We've seen kind of players that are up and coming who haven't got off to a good start, and then it becomes kind of a whitewash, So I think for me, I hope that he makes it competitive and kind of gets that first set. But I do also think that Tsitsipas is going to come through this one, that's for sure. And
on the other side of this half of the men's draw, we had Seb Korda, who came through against Hubert Hurkacz. Last set tiebreak, cracking match, very, very close towards the end. The first 4 sets were kind of quite one way, but it all came down to that last set tiebreak. Korda, backing up his excellent form, coming into the tournament, and many people have got high hopes for him this tournament, including myself and my predictions. He's made it through. He's got Karen Khachanov next, who is very experienced at Grand Slam level. looking at the scoreline of Khachanov's fourth round, very interesting. It was 6-love, 6-love at one point.
Wow.
Like a double bagel. Very, very strange. And then it went to tiebreak in the third set. Khachanov himself said he didn't really know what was going on in those first two sets against Nishioka. Joel, did you watch much of this match? What was the story of those first two sets?
I watched some of the highlights, and yeah, I was wondering if it was wondering if it was going to be like a triple bagel at some point.
Can you imagine?
But, I know, right? It's just very, very rare, particularly in a fourth round, I feel, of a major. But the more I was watching it, the more I did think about Karen Khachanov and his career and his performances at Grand Slams, because I do think he is a player who goes unnoticed, really. And now he has been in the quarterfinals or better at every slam, but I don't feel like he gets the credit that maybe he deserves.
That's
agree.
a tough one, I think.
I
Do you
agree.
think?
Well,
He has a game that means he should have been to more than this is his fourth Grand Slam quarterfinal. Obviously, he made the semi-finals just recently at last year's US Open. But I mean, if we watched back that match in Paris when he won the title and just how hard he was hitting the ball, and you just thought he would rise to the top of the game and stay there. So I think now if he's able to kind of mature a bit later, I would say he's obviously a very talented player, but he definitely has not always put it together, and he has always had the weapons.
kind of in the Pavlyuchenkova category, like you were saying earlier. Is it finally going to come together and he's going to go super deep? Because he's been to the quarters at all the slams now. I think he's the 50th man in the Open era to get to that, or like to complete the quarterfinal set at all the slams. But definitely could have done more with his talent. But on his day, absolute, can knock out the best in the world. So I don't think he should be underestimated. And I'd like to see Korda come through, because I think he's the more exciting prospect. But I wouldn't be surprised if Khachanov gets the job done, especially if Korda's a bit tired after the Hurkacz match. But we will see. We will see. They'll be in action tomorrow. Let's very quickly, before we look at tomorrow's schedule, collector set, a bit of a mini update. Quite low scores, I think, from all our participants.
We can skip this one, Kim. I'm pretty sure we can skip this one. Joel and I don't want to know this.
It's been a big time shocker.
We can't skip it, because I just want to point out that I'm currently in the lead with 2 correct right. I think I'm the only person, and I've still got Jessie Pegula and Seb Korda to go. So, just putting it out there. But
Kim.
I mean, if I win, I'm just going to be giving a mug from myself to myself.
Yeah. So I am actually looking forward to
really
the Tennis Weekly, the bank account. We won't have to fork out for any postage and packaging, which will be absolute music to my ears.
We might have to get a wooden spoon for one of us for the worst scoring, because has anyone ever got 0 out of you guys before?
Oh yes, it has happened
before. Many times.
It certainly happened to me,
Great.
and it's looking. I mean, Jessie Pegula might save me, but yeah, it's not looking good.
Can anyone beat you, Kim?
I'd have to number crunch a bit more. I think they probably could, but
okay, it's still all to play for.
It's still all to play for, and it is very much still all to play for in the real life, because we do have all the quarterfinals kicking off from tomorrow. So, guys, let's just have a quick look. We've got Rybakina versus Ostapenko tomorrow. Khachanov against Korda, Pegula, Azarenka, and Tsitsipas Lehecka. So let's go around the room. Rybakina, Ostapenko. Who's winning and how many sets, Joel?
Ostapenko in 3.
Oh, Chris.
Ostapenko in 2.
Oh, okay. Rybakina in 3. I'm going to be different. Okay, Khachanov, Korda. Joel.
Oh, Khachanov in 4.
Oh, Chris.
Oh, this is speed lightning round. Korda in 5.
I know. I'm going to say Khachanov in 5. Oh, I think Korda's going to get tired. Okay. Pegula, Azarenka. Chris, I'm starting with you this time.
Pegula in 2.
Oh, okay. Joel?
Azarenka in 3.
Oh, I really want Pegula because I've predicted her to win. However...
I had Jessie Pegula to win as well. Oh, yeah, I'm still going Azarenka.
I think Azarenka in 3, actually. I'm the same. Okay, and last but not least, Tsitsipas against Lehecka. I'm going to start on this. Tsitsipas in 3 for me. Chris?
I'll say Tsitsipas in 4.
Oh, and Joel?
Tsitsipas in 3. Surely.
Oh,
surely.
Come on. Go wild.
No, I can't.
And I bet all of those will be very, very wrong. Actually, the draw I'm looking at, there's a bit that after the Korda match, it just says intentionally blank on the schedule, which I quite like that. It's like they've put in the buffer that we need so that the night session doesn't start ridiculously late. On that note, I think we've come to the end of our round 4 catch up. But I just one thing on the doubles, I did notice that Joe Salisbury and Rajiv Ram had lost, which made me quite sad when I was looking through my morning results. But I think Neil Skupski's still in it, so we've still got some British hopes there.
Yes, there is still some British hope in Melbourne. Listeners, I hope you have enjoyed our latest episode of the Tennis Weekly podcast. Remember to subscribe to us to stay up to date on all the action to come from Melbourne.
We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcasting platforms out there. And if you like what you're hearing, then make sure to leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
You can also follow us on social media or email the show. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Tennis Weekly Pod. You can email us at tennisweeklypod@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out our website, www.tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we will be back on Wednesday evening at Tennis Weekly HQ for our quarterfinals catch-up. So I hope you can join us for that. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from Kim.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. We'll see you again soon.